Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world.
I've been looking around for salvation. I've been looking around for the truth. All around me I see frustration, and I looked all over till I found you. I sit and listen to your stories, and you're telling me, please don't worry. Lot in this world you should know, and love in life is where you should go. If you're looking for somewhere to go, if you're looking for someone to know, if you're looking for someone to guide you, then love in life will guide you.
Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world, and welcome to tonight's live stream. Well, tonight we've got a very good friend of the Loving Life community talking to us. But before we get to that, I've just loaded the next chapter of Fee Tims's book. You know, the one by the White Zulu on her time in Botswana. Fee does the talking and expresses her memories of her time in the Okavango Delta. The video about elephants and other related game matters can be found on both platforms, YouTube and, of course, lovinglifetv.com. For those of you who missed it, Pietrosito delivered his memorandum on farm murders and farm attacks to President Cyril Ramaphosa this morning at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. Full live coverage of the event can be seen on either platform. Now, just to show you how crazy big tech is, Dan's Sunday service for this Sunday, which will be made public on Sunday morning, includes the song Amazing Grace. Now, we all know the song Amazing Grace, okay? It is copyrighted by WMG and blocked in certain countries like Cuba, Iran, North Korea, and Syria on YouTube. On our new platform, lovinglifetv.com, we have no such issues. Tonight I'll be talking to General Izak van Zyl about the important subject of prepping in these turbulent times. Have a pen and paper handy to take notes. Now, please remember to subscribe to Loving Life on YouTube and also lovinglifetv.com, our new platform that we are transitioning to, and ask any questions you might have at any time in the side chat. Alrighty, I'll get Izak on and let's get the show on the road. Hi, Izak.
Good evening, Scott, and all the listeners. How are you?
Excellent, thank you. Wow, I love your jacket.
Yeah, man, I bought it last winter, and I must say the wildebeest jacket is very nice. Nice to have.
Looks fantastic. It must be pretty warm too, I'd say.
It's cold here. The Eastern Transvaal is since last week we have the winter arrived here.
Yeah, yeah.
And
That jacket must keep you warm.
I beg your pardon?
The jacket must keep you nice and warm.
Yeah, no, this is a nice warm jacket.
Cool.
I'm ready for the hunting season.
Now, I was just reading a report from Zero Hedge, and it's very pertinent to our discussion tonight, Isaac. I'll just read to you what it says. It says, social unrest fears mount as world food prices soar in April. And it goes on to say, global inflation is headed into overdrive as our leading food price indicators, that is the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization Food Price Index, increased for an 11th consecutive month in April, hitting levels not seen since May 2014, with sugar prices leading the rise in the main index. Now, we're going to be talking about prepping, and not just about food and water, but basically preparing yourself for turbulent times. I'm going to put the ball into your court. Where would you like to kick off on this subject, Isaac? And before you do, I just want to confirm that we'll be keeping this live stream to about an hour, or even a little bit less. But back to you.
Yeah. No, so, Scott, thank you very much. I think the quotation you gave is excellent. It is an excellent example of the dispensation we are entering in. And the fact of the matter is the more we are diving into an economic crisis in South Africa, the more we are facing poverty. And the more we are facing poverty in Africa, we know that the masses, the people who are suffering under the poverty, have no other choice than to get involved into criminal activities or into crime or into stealing. And therefore, we know that the opportunistic, hostile organizations in South Africa, namely the ANC itself, who are part and parcel of the National Democratic Revolution for the past 60, 70 years in South Africa, and their babies, and we call them the people in the red overalls, the Frikkie, Julius, Pompoenspook, Malema, Andile and Kitama of the Black Land First. Those are the people who are brainwashing the poor masses into announcing and into making false statements, like, for instance, that it is the rich white people who are robbing you of opportunities. It is the rich white people who are the cause of the poverty that you are suffering. It is the rich white people, and by saying that, they are not excluding certain sectors of the white community, they are including every white person in South Africa.
Even those in
and that is the problem we are. Yeah, that is the problem that we are facing. And the official government of South Africa, who are actually running a corporation and not a republic, are the main role players in ensuring that the 90% black, 10% white equity standard must be maintained and enforced, not in only the public sector, but also in the business sector. The public sector was targeted for, you can say, for the first 20 years. The police and the army and the Department of Education and all the other departments were targeted. And you can look back in 27 years and see for yourself how they transformed the civil society by enforcing the Equity Act that is targeted to exclude the white minority, which consists only of between 6 and 10% of the total population of South Africa. Now that's a question that no one could ever ask me. How the hell can a majority of 40 million people experience a threat by a 6% minority? Why do they have to apply laws to enforce equity in the workplace? Even if they give all 4 million people in South Africa jobs, that will not solve the problems they are facing the past 25, 27 years. And that is overpopulation and poverty. So why do they punish white people in the workplace in the first place, if that is not going to solve the problem? What they actually did, and I don't know whether they will ever realize that, is that they drained the brain power of people who built this country since 1652.
Yeah.
And now they are in a situation where they only can govern to the standard of the rest of Africa. So yeah, that is the problems we are facing, and as the economy, and that is fortunately for South Africa, the destruction of the economy is not only a local problem, it's a global problem. Economies around the world is facing the same problems. But we have to look after our matters in South Africa, and the best way in dealing with this is by getting the minority group into one kraal, and to start, like in the, I think it's in the 30s when the slogan "Koop Afrikaans" started. I think it was a campaign that was managed by H.F. Verwoerd and the National Party. In the time where we faced white poverty in the 30s, in the years of the Depression, we started the Koop Afrikaans veldtog. And I think what we are seeing in South Africa, I will amper say in a fragmented way, there's lots of fragments to this campaign. And that is small groups of people and bigger groups of people starting to trade with each other, and they exclude the rest. And I think we are going to see that more and more in the future as we see the economy is going down the drain, and poverty in the other population groups are growing. I think that we can start an economy amongst the white people where we are trading with each other and where we are keeping the money amongst us.
Right.
That is the secret of building an economy. That is the secret of building a good local economy, is to keep the money in your town. And that we are going to see more and more in the future. Along with that, with regards to the preparation and the prepping, there's two pillars that I see in South Africa we are standing on, and that is two narratives or denkwyses wat gevolg word in Suid-Afrika met die oog op totale anargie, with the eyes on total anarchy. And that is, the first one is the subtraction of people and the other one is wat ons noem ons staan vas, the staying fast of people defending their own territories. And that is the one we at the Boerelegioen are looking at, and that we are more interested in, is to mobilize local communities to such an extent that every member of the local population, the local community of the minority groups, are prepared in such a way that they can, women, children, and old people, are in a position where they are networked, where they are part of a community safety project, and where they are getting the necessary training to help themselves. In other words, not only to help themselves, but also to be part of a defense group in the local community. That is what we are looking at. At this moment in time, we are seeing people's eyes are opened by the conditions, the circumstances, the COVID regulations, the economy that is failing, businesses that failed, businesses that are closing doors one by one. In the global picture, it is several thousands of businesses that closed doors in the past 2 years. And we are seeing that cash is becoming a problem. Buying of necessities is becoming a bigger problem. And people are cutting on the expenditure of stuff like policies and stuff like nice to haves that we saw in the past.
Yeah.
People invested in policies and in whatever, and
Isaac, I
is
just want
becoming non-essentials.
I just want to say that people are crazy. You know, when you know winter's coming, it's like you in that jacket. If I can use the analogy of your jacket, when you know winter's coming, you are crazy if you don't have warm clothes, because you know you're going to get cold. Now, I think the problem is that people in South, or a lot of people in South Africa, are living in a bubble. And that bubble is that, she'll be right, mate. But the trouble is, if they don't prepare and get involved in a citizen defense group or Boerelegioen or one of these groups, and actually have an infrastructure they can depend on when things go pear-shaped, you know, when the shit hits the fan, they won't. It'll be too late. As I say, it's like preparing for winter. You make sure you got something warm. When you're looking at a situation that could really go pear-shaped, you go and you prepare and get involved in an organization that can help you defend your family. Yeah, back to you.
I think the message that we need to send out now, Scott, is that the time to be functioning in isolation has passed. It's time to become part of a network. But it is also not, according to my observation and according to what I see is happening in South Africa, that people are becoming fanatics, prepping fanatics. That is not necessary. I spoke to one guy a few months back, and he told me that he already spent 3 to 4 million rand the past 10 to 15 years in preparing him and his family far away from his house for a state of total anarchy, for whenever the waansinnige hordes, whenever the people are going to attack towns and take over towns. According to me, that is a bit overemphasized. That's a overemphasization of what the conditions can become. What is very, very important is that you become part of a civilian safety initiative. That's the number one part. And the second part, the secondary part, is to get out of your comfort zone and report for training. What we are doing in the Boerelegioen now, and I see that more and more people are awakened by the Petratief scenario, by the several scenarios we experienced the past 4 to 5 years, and that they are getting on board with the safety initiative and bring their whole families, their children, their parents, their elderly parents even, for training. What we are doing now is we change the whole curriculum of our training, where the emphasis was on urban and rural warfare or counterinsurgents training. We are training the people to become streetwise soldiers.
And
You know, you have to, when you are attacking the street, in the heat of the moment, you have to do something to eliminate the attacker. And that is what we are teaching our people now to be streetwise. Gangsters in the Cape Flats are ruling their territories because they are trained in street soldiers. They know how to handle a knife, in other words. They know how to handle any weapon that they can lay their hand on. And they know how to organize in a disciplined structure to gather enough intelligence and to organize in such a manner that they can rule the territory which they are engaged to rule. And that is what we are going to teach our people. Our historic towns, our historic property is under siege by the hostile organizations like the EFF. They took ownership and they took the initiative upon their shoulders to go into historic towns which belongs to the white people and burn and loot and destroy our monuments. They destroy our property, and we are going to take possession of that by teaching our people to become streetwise soldiers.
Right. Now, you mentioned Petratief. It's interesting because I covered the Petratief court event where the farmers got out on bail. And as you know, there were several hundred protesters from the ANC, the EFF, and a couple of other political parties who were, chanting and singing. And Peter Sito was, walking around the place, and he walked up to where they were chanting. They were separated by this wire, police wire. And he said, "Scott, do you know what they're singing?" And I said, because it was in Zulu. So I said, "No." He said, "They're singing, 'Kill the Ebola.'" Ebola, for people who don't know, is Zulu for white person. That this was being chanted by these protesters from the ANC, not just the EFF, and other political parties who had actually got together. And the white population in South Africa don't realize this is happening because the mainstream media like Enka and SATV, News 24, they'll never report on this because it doesn't fit the narrative. If that had been 500 white people singing or chanting, kill the blacks or something like that, that would have been world news. This is a difference. This is why people don't realize what's happening around them. And this is why what you're saying is so important that people get prepared. But back to you, Izak.
Yeah, Scott, that is definitely what you're saying is so true. And I also overheard the chanting of the people. And that comes from the leadership. Well, a few years back, there was a video that went viral where Jacob Zuma stood and sang Umshini Wami.
Yeah.
Then they sing to kill the Amabulu. Hulle sê Amabulu Kujima, hardloop, die boere moet hardloop, die boere moet hardloop. That's what it means.
Yeah.
Now, I don't care. For me, that is symbol. It's only symbolic, and but the seriousness of the fact that their intention is to get the white people to run is a serious matter, and that needs to be dealt with the highest levels of government in South Africa, and they don't do it. Ramaphosa and his cabinet don't do anything about that. They don't issue any statements. They don't condemn it in public. They allow it, in other words, by keeping quiet about it. Ons noem dit as 'n stilswygende goedkeuring. So, but that is not the problem for me. The problem for me is that the threats and the way of thinking is at a certain point in time going to manifest into action.
Yeah, exactly.
That is when they are going to get the guts. I don't know where they are going to get the guts from, but seemingly they feel that they are gaining momentum and that they will, at a certain point in time, be in a position to hand out guns. And, you know, intelligence in this country is a very sophisticated industry. And but we established a sort of a criminal or a crime intelligence network in townships in different red areas, what we call. A place like Rustenburg, we put it under red. And we have people that infiltrated in certain places. And the intelligence that is coming out there is very worrying. And that is that certain sectors of this diverse community of South Africa, and I'm not going to name them or say who they are, but it's certain groupings, are so engaged into organized crime. And they use the committing of organized crime as an exercise platform to, at the end, cause total anarchy or total chaos. And that goes hand in hand with the violent protest actions that we saw in Piet Retief, in Colini, and in the past. This is the elements that are gathering automatic Russian weapons. They are in possession of plofstof. They are in possession of RPGs. That is the information that comes to me, and that is not only today, it's for the past few years that we have a reporting system to the SAPS where we advise them to investigate, gather the intelligence, organize operations, arrest these people, and confiscate those weapons. Because at this point in time, on a Friday night, they are drinking, they are having parties at the taverns, and it's not only one or two or three. Which was reported to me is that about 40, 50 people the other day walked with AK-47s in the township.
Jeez.
And that becomes a normal. That becomes a normal in certain areas of this country. And I spoke to someone regarding KwaZulu-Natal there at the N3 where they hijack the trucks and burn it out and loot all the stock on the trucks. What is that toll gate on the...
At Mooi River?
Van Rhyns, ja, Mooi River, the Mooi River toll plaza and the Van Rhyns Pas.
Yeah.
Van Rhyns Pas. They say that in their rural areas, it's a gangster's paradise. The people are walking with firearms, automatic firearms, in public, like soldiers.
Jeez, that's
And
crazy.
whenever someone is a threat, they kill him. And the police are not even attending the scenes of crime anymore.
Yeah.
They are not worrying anymore about that. So that is creating an excellent condition in this country where
It's anarchy.
the Wild West can start to operate,
Now,
where
look,
the strongest will survive.
I saw something today. There was a huge wake-up call to me personally, I think to everybody else who watched the live stream. It was Petrosito delivering a memorandum to President Ramaphosa at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. People knew about it. They were expecting about 1,000 people to come along. And of course, the numbers would have made a greater impact. Turns out that about 20 to 30 people turned up. Just 20 to 30 people. And this to me is a huge wake-up call, because people sit there on the sidelines, they're keyboard warriors, they're probably sitting there in Pretoria, and they're not attending, they're not actually doing something. And this is where people have got to start waking up and being part of the solution, not just sitting behind and talking about it.
Scott, the problem is, I think the white people in South Africa, there's a trust issue. There's a huge trust issue, not amongst only the white leaders or the white people in their different groupings, but also a trust issue regarding other races fighting for our cause. And that to me is very worrying. Because Petrus, I didn't pick up any agenda from his side, apart from the fact that he wanted to do awareness of farm killings and make the government aware that it's not only white people that complains about farm murders,
right?
That it's a diverse thing, and the nation in its diversity should stand up against this phenomenon and this thing we call farm murders in South Africa. And it's not only farm murders. You know, murder in South Africa is a global problem. We are the second highest in the world, the murder rate in South Africa.
Yeah.
And the previous time I spoke to you, I talked about what happened in Vosman. And that's the root causes of that is not solely criminality. It's domestic violence. It comes with your bringing up, the way you were brought up, the environment you grew up in. And many people in South Africa grew up in very hostile and not good conditions. And domestic violence in townships is a very big phenomenon. It's a very big thing. And we started with psychology and spiritual warfare in Vosman, for instance, which had the biggest murder rate in South Africa in 2006-07, the book year of 2006-07. And we brought the murder rate down to the lowest in South Africa in 1 year, just by engaging into relationships with the local community and allow the spiritual leaders to talk to the father figures and talk to the grandfathers and talk to the mothers and teach them what it means to be a dad, what it means to be a grandfather, what it means to be a mother.
Yeah.
And we try to establish a value system in that community. But unfortunately, that is stuff that has to be continued. It has to be going on. And whenever you initiate something and you get transferred to another place, or you in my instance, I resigned from the police at that point in time in 2008. And the station commander and the cluster commander of the police in that area retired just after that. So there was again a gap in the what do you call it, in die kundigheid that couldn't be filled. And Vosman is now again where it was before 2006.
Yeah.
It's again there. And yeah, if there's no sustainable projects going on in a township, you will never deal with contact crimes, what we call it. You will never deal with it. It is a problem because the root thereof is domestic violence. It starts in the family. In other words, the murderer and the victim know each other. They are related or they know each other.
Yeah. Now, Isaac,
and 90% of all murders in South Africa, and you can check the causes of every murder. I researched that back in 2007 already, and 90% of all murders in South Africa are domestic related.
Yeah. Now, Isaac, when I was
it's domestic. The remaining 10% is the violent murders we see on the farms, and we see in the house robberies and attacks on the farms and industries and stuff like that.
Yeah. Now, when I was at boarding school, we had a thing called cadets, and every single person in that school had to participate in cadets. And of course, it was training back then in the 1970s for after you got out of school, you had compulsory involvement in the army or one of the sectors of the army. Now, I guess what we're saying here is that every male in South Africa who's listening to this live stream needs, for his own and his family's sake, to become involved in an organization like Boerelegioen. Now, you've got units all over South Africa, haven't you? So people can, regardless of whether they're in Victoria West or if they're in Bloemfontein or if they're in Middelburg, wherever they are, you have got units that they can become involved in, and they can just prep themselves for a situation so that if things do go pear-shaped, they can pick up their cell phone and call someone, and that then a group of people can come in and help. This is the sort of situation people need to prepare for, isn't it?
Yeah, Scott, definitely that is very essential, and I think the template that we established in South Africa with regard to a Boerelegioen structure, it's a military structure. We are working on a military structure, and the only reason why we are doing it, people say that we are giving ourselves chips on the shoulder and stuff like that. That is not true. I am a general of the Boerelegioen because the Boerelegioen consists out of more than 6,000 people. And in the forces, you appoint a general for 6,000 people. That is the way it is.
Right.
You cannot be a general if you don't have 6,000 people under your command and control. We have a following of about 120,000 people on our Facebook pages and social pages and stuff like that. But the physical structure, people who received a membership number and who received a rank and who becomes part of the military structure in the town, in the local town, consists of more than 12,000 people already. So we have room for more than one general in the Boerelegioen, according to our statistics. And at least if we don't have a structure in a town, in the region of that town, say for instance, we have a place like Ladysmith. You are well acquainted with Ladysmith because you worked or stayed there in the past. Ladysmith is a part in the Natal Midlands. Our headquarter in Natal Midlands is Pietermaritzburg, and we have quite a big structure in the Midlands, Pietermaritzburg, Howick, and that area. In Ladysmith, we have a contact person. But due to a lack of good leadership, people who didn't take the initiative to get on board of the local safety structures and get involved and get known as a Boerelegioen member. And invite the Buurtwag, invite the CPF's people to the training. Invite the local community to the training. Nothing will happen if we are sitting here in Middelburg. The whole top structure is sitting around Middelburg and Secunda. We cannot be in Ladysmith to establish a functional structure there by means of training and stuff like that. But the national instruction that we issued about 2 years back states very clearly that every town commander must appoint 3 or 4 or 5 officers consisting of military or police veterans, and those 5 must form a team to get the normal onskuldige burgers on board and start training programs with them. That is part of being a member of the Boerelegioen. That is the free training programs that we provide on a weekly basis to the public. That include self-defense training, taking off a knife when you are attacked, basic firearm handling. That is putting a firearm together, take it out, clean it, how to sustain it, how to handle it properly. They can even take the people, if there's an appointed firearm officer, to a approved shooting range and start training the people in using a firearm, even tactical training. And that is what we are teaching our people on local level, and there's many towns that reacted to that call, and the people are, every week they have between 20 and 30 people. Some of them have 5 people, others have 80 people. I think there's a training session, I can't remember where it will be, but already in Nelspruit, in our Long Tom regiment in White River, 150 people already enrolled for the training session, which will start the end of this month. And that is a good sign that the people start to get on board and they start to get involved, and they show the willingness to participate in this. Because at the end, Scott, at the end, the only way that we will survive is if we are trained and if we are in a structure.
Right.
The people are talking down to the Boerelegioen, and they say we are a bunch of what, they called the AWB in the apartheid years the Brandewyn squad. But I can tell you, the work regarding structure and training that they did in that dispensation of our history was very important to become a civilian force, because the police cannot be everywhere all the time. And in the places where we are structured with reaction forces and trained forces, and people are starting to do the job, the people welcome those people on board. They welcome them. They say, yo, we need this force multiplier for us to effectively do our job.
Yeah.
Because in most big centra, the police numbers are too little to deal with the crime rate. And if the crime rate in a place like Middelburg goes to 2,000-3,000 cases per month, it's out of hand.
Yeah.
Because the normal crime rate in a place like Middelburg is about 500 to 600 to 700 cases.
No.
And suddenly, there's a lot of people coming on board, report for duty, and assist the police to do the job.
Yeah.
It's not the police that is the enemy of the Boer people. It's individuals within the police who are brainwashed by the ANC ideology, who are the enemy.
Yeah.
We have to expose them. That is our job.
Yeah.
We have to expose them and bring them to book. and force the government or force the department to do what we call geskiktheidsrade op hierdie mense. That warrant officer that investigated that Piet Retief case must be brought to book. He must be
absolutely
subjected to a geskiktheidsraad by the Department of Police.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we issued a letter to the Transvaal Agricultural Union and requesting them to force the police to investigate that investigation officer, and they can also, in the same time, investigate the prosecutor.
Right. Now, Bev Sterrett has raised a very pertinent point, and she says, why is General Izak not doing more underground work in small towns? There is nothing going on here in our little town, and we need it desperately. Being an ex-vet, I would love to be involved. Now, I'm going to let Izak answer that question, Bev, but of course you can be involved. I'm just going to put the website address for Boerelegioen into the side chat. That's your first port of call, and from that you'll be able to contact Izak or Boerelegioen. Back to you, Izak.
Did she mention the name of the town?
She hasn't, no. But
okay.
She can.
The best way to get involved, at least in the region where the town is situated, there will be a Boerelegioen structure, and the best way to get involved is to report and put up your hand and say that I will do the job, at least for the interim until a leader comes forward to take over the job.
Okay, she says she's in Foriesburg. Izak, Foriesburg.
I beg. Is it Foriesburg?
Yeah,
Foriesburg. In the Free State. Yeah, there is a structure in the Free State, and the moment she assigned to the website, she will receive a force number or a membership number, and then the admin of the region will make contact with her and introduce her to the local people who are already on board at the Boerelegioen. And the best way for them is to come together and start to plan the training and to start to plan a buurtwag. I think that is a proper way to start. And then from there you can expand your structures. The most regions already have a reaction force which consists out of able and trained reaction force members, and they at this moment are also involved in normal policing,
right?
Along with the South African Police Service. Just excuse me for a moment.
Yeah, sure. While you're doing that, just while Izak's sorting out his little cough there, I just want to quickly touch on the importance of prepping. We've been talking about getting involved in a structure where you can defend yourself and your family. And the other side of this situation when there's anarchy is making sure that you've got sufficient drinking water to last you for at least a couple of weeks for your family. And that's a lot of water, believe me. You've got to have sufficient food. And we're talking about dried foods, rice, canned food, you know, all these different things. You've got to have a stockpile. You've got to be prepared, because if things go terribly pear-shaped and the local Spar or the local Pick and Pay, the shelves are bare, believe me, when things go pear-shaped, the shops are stripped within hours by people panic buying. And this is why it's a much better idea to actually have at least a month's supply of food sitting there in your pantry or in your kitchen, because it never goes to waste. What you do is you have the month's supply of food and you just use the older tin cans food or the older rice, and you just keep replacing it. Just keep that extra food there, because when things do go pear-shaped, there are going to be a lot of people who haven't prepared, and they're going to be in a lot of trouble. And water is the most critical thing. Sorry, back to you, Izak.
That is very critical. But you know, I received someone complaining the other day. They say that when you store up dry food and stuff like that for longer than 3 months, then it also can get poisonous, and there's little, what they call it, kewertjies en goedjies wat daar uitbroei. So that is not a sole answer to prepping. I think the sole answer to prepping is to do a proper planning, how to take control over your shopping malls, and to ensure and enforce the people who do the deliveries to have access either in or out. And the best way to ensure that is to put in place escorts from the place where they are picking up the stock to the place where they deliver the stock.
Right.
So that is the things that we have to do in a large scale in our towns, to identify the places which will be providing life essentials like food and fresh food and vegetables and fruit and meat and milk and what do you call it, dairy products, and make sure that the transport of that stuff is in order, in place. So make contact with the producing facilities and the wholesale facilities, and become part of a network where we can ensure that the production continues and that the line of transport to the different places is in place. You know, people exaggerate quite a lot when they try to foresee something, and there's no reason why we cannot be prepared in our towns and make a laar, the laar like the laar of Bloedrivier, of our towns, or a certain area at least of the town, where people can have access to, and where they can be safe in their neighborhoods, and where they can do their normal shopping. There's no reason for, and yeah, there must be a thought of a worst case scenario, but that, according to my logic mind, will only manifest when other countries or a world force attack civilians in South Africa, like we saw in Syria, in Libya, in Afghanistan. But in South Africa, there's no threat at this point in time, and I don't think that there will ever be a threat, because South Africa is no threat to any country.
Yeah. Now, Izak, I've got a couple of people here commenting on the same theme, and I'm just going to run this past you. Bev has again said, I find a huge divide between English and Afrikaans, which is very sad. And Bruce Bastos says, to General Izak, some say there is still division between English and Afrikaans. We need to go on a mission to heal the divide. We fought together in the South African Police Service and the South African Defence Force. What are your comments about that?
I think that is not true, Scott. Perhaps within other organizations, but not in the Boerelegioen. I think about half of our command system is English speaking. Our main language is Afrikaans, because we are the Boerelegioen. We are not the English Legion. We are the Boerelegioen, and yeah, I'm speaking English to an international audience and to the English-speaking people in South Africa.
Yeah.
The top structure of the Boerelegioen is speaking English better than me, and in the regions, the people are speaking English very far better than me. And yeah, I think it's there can be isolated incidents where people are feeling rejected because in meetings they are speaking Afrikaans. But I think that we have a history of good manners, and we adjusted to all the conditions in South Africa to such an extent that our language almost died as a result of allowing us just to be subjected to English as a main language in South Africa.
Yeah.
And people must remember that Afrikaans is the second biggest, next to Zulu. In South Africa, Afrikaans is the second biggest spoken language in South Africa.
Now, Korean Places said, are the Boerelegioen stationed near Mossel Bay?
Yeah, we have a station there, and we have a very good commander there. He was a former commander of the police in Dana Bay, I think. Captain Robert. He's quite a experienced police officer and quite a competent administrator and a competent leader. So I suggest when you join the Boerelegioen, make contact with Captain Robert as soon as possible.
Great. Now, Dan Berryman is 75 years old, and he raises a very interesting and pertinent point. And he says, look, I'm too old to go and do foot patrols and stuff like that, but I can help out with admin. Now, if there are people who are in that position where they can't go out on foot patrols, or they can't be involved actively in a combat type situation, they can at least work in support areas and stuff like that. There's basically a job for everybody, isn't there, Isaac? It doesn't matter what age you are.
Yes, no matter how old you are. We even train people in wheelchairs to defend themselves. So age and yeah, you know, very sick people who cannot stand up anymore. They are part of our organization because of the need for protection, and that we will provide for old age homes and for the senior citizens of South Africa. Our structure is structured in that manner that we can provide the necessary services, even medical services, to people in need.
Right.
You know, in a state of total anarchy, medical services can be demolished, it can disappear. Then the Boerelegioen have the ability to go out and give people the medication and to treat them for their different illnesses. But training, everyone can come and join in training. And we want to encourage old people also to come and report, because our training is adjusted to serve to the need of the individual. So if you're an old person and you cannot do push-ups anymore, we will not allow you even to do push-ups. But we can give you basic methods and basic tools to defend yourself when you are attacked. And we can see what's happening in every town in South Africa, that the criminal elements are targeting the old people. And if we can build in a surprise element in that old person to do just a few things to cancel out the attack or to eliminate the attacker on the spot, I can never imagine if he killed that attacker on the spot as an 80-year-old man or an 80-year-old woman, that the police will ever charge him for murder or whatever, or attempted murder even. And I can guarantee the person that if he's part of the Boerelegioen, we will never allow the police to arrest him or if he defended himself.
Right. Now, I'm going to start wrapping up this live stream. I did guarantee that we'd stick it to about an hour. We're getting close to. It's amazing how time flies. But
yeah, it's amazing.
I would just say or appeal to people, please just go to the Boerelegioen website, and there's a facility there I just put it in the side chat there. There's a facility there to actually send an email to the Boerelegioen, and I think they've also got their cell phone number on that page too, haven't they, Isaac?
Yeah, there is a cell phone number. They can SMS or WhatsApp Marinda at 063-057-0996.
Okay, I'll just put that into the side chat as well. So it's Mirinda. So if you want to speak to someone directly, there's the number. And that's the best way to get your individual answers answered on, or your questions answered relating to your specific situation. Greg says, Scott, please could you ask General if he supports the Iranian model of self-determination?
Yeah, definitely, Scott. I support the system because that demonstrates the ability of the minority people to look after themselves. I think what we see in Orania, we are going to see in many different places in South Africa. The same concept is established in the Zuidland concept in the Cape, in the Western Cape. Adrian Nierhout is busy with the same project there in also in the Karoo. What is die plek's naam? But in any case, what we are going to see in the near future is that I think perhaps when we start to target the poor people, the people in the squatter camps, in the white squatter camps, we are speaking about 800,000 people who are staying in the harshest circumstances that you ever can think of.
Yeah.
In white squatter camps, in Gauteng, around Johannesburg, Pretoria, Krugersdorp. Even in big towns like Potchefstroom, Rustenburg, Middelburg, has got a sector of the minority population that is extremely poor. And there is quite a number of self-determination initiatives where groups of people want to buy land and develop it for the specific purpose of creating an economy amongst quite a number of the affected people in South Africa.
Yeah.
And that is quite a lot of initiatives that I'm talking at this moment in time. I'm talking to several leaders in South Africa of different organizations. And the last week I became part of the Volkshuis initiative also, and I allied the Boerelegioen also to play a part in the Volkshuis.
Is that with Geerben?
I beg your pardon?
Is that with Geerben?
Nee. Geerben is not. He's also calling the project the Volkshuis, but this is also. I think that is part of the whole concept of the Volkshuis.
Right. Okay.
I think in different sectors of the Afrikaner population, the Volkshuis got some sentiment among the people, and there's especially amongst the safety groupings like the Boerelegioen, the VVS, the AWB, the Zuidlanders even. They all are starting to build a sort of an umbrella for the Boerevolk, where we can start to talk about a board of generals or a board of judges or a board of people who can represent a large segment of the Afrikaner Boere population community in South Africa. Because at this moment in time, with the different political parties and the pressure groups and whatever there is, there's not one of them that can say that they are talking on behalf of the Afrikaner people.
Yeah.
Not one of them. But in the Volkshuis situation where you can gather all the people, it's only a house. It's a house where you can feel free to talk. There's no authority, there's no dictatorship, there's no prescription.
Yeah.
You can give your input of your organization, you can bring it to the table and say, this is what we are doing. can we try to duplicate this initiative to all the groupings. And then we get uniformity regarding training, we get uniformity regarding policies, education, all the departments that you can think of. All the inputs can result into a sort of a policy document or what do you call it, a groen skrif of a white script for say for the large contingent of the white population.
Right. Now, I'm going to be talking to Michael Tellinger in the next few days, and he's been an advocate for what they call our community, which is like a town which takes its town back. The people take the town back. And he's actually trialing that with a couple of towns in Mpumalanga. We're going to be talking about this specifically. So that's going to be very interesting. All right, Isaac, look, I just want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. I want to keep this short. I know you've got other things you need to do. Thank you so much for joining us. And please, guys, do phone that cell phone number I put in the side chat, or contact Boerelegioen through their website. That's boerelegioen.co.za. And Isaac, I'm going to hand over to you to say the last word for this live stream.
Scott, once again, thank you for the opportunity. I think I said it quite a lot of times in the past, but we cannot emphasize it enough, the role that you are playing. And thank you for getting out the message there. And for the people of South Africa and even the international community, please invest into the Boerelegioen initiative. We are not the only initiative, but at least I think we are one of the more organized and structured initiatives that can provide basic training up to the best standard of training that you can get in terms of combat in South Africa. We don't want to see South Africa get into a state of war where we have to defend ourselves and to go to war. But we cannot ignore the fact that we have to prepare for war in order to be safe. And that is what we are doing. That is just what we are doing. But everything costs money. Everything costs a lot of energy and initiative and the buy-in of experts in the field. And we cannot do that just with a membership fee that we are asking our people every month. What we are trying to do is to give a percentage of our membership fee back to the members. Up to now, we didn't succeed in doing it because the administrative demand is too big and the membership too small. So my plea is for especially the people who are trading in dollars and pounds and euros to support us financially in South Africa to become a strong volksweermacht. That is what we need to become. P.W. Botha wrote it in a book. He signed the book. Revolutionaire en teenrevolutionaire strategie. That is already in the 80s, the early 80s. He signed this book, where he said that if we as white people in South Africa want to survive the revolutionary approach of the communists, and we see in South Africa that the communism and the communist is very, very alive in South Africa. And he said that if we are to survive the onslaught of the communists in South Africa, men, women, elderly people, and even children need to be trained as counterinsurgents. That is big words. And that means that our people need to be in a position to at least look after his own protection, family's protection, his neighborhood's protection, and to counter any attack. That's the point.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Scott, and thank you for the opportunity that you always give us to make use of this platform also to get out the message. We from the Boerelegioen love you a lot. We know that you are under extreme pressure sometimes, but we have your six and we have your back. Salute.
Salute. Thank you so much, Isaac. And look, have a great evening. And it's always lovely to talk to you. It's amazing what you're achieving through the Boerelegioen. And just know that Loving Life will always be here and always support you.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye for now, Isaac.
Bye.
Okay, guys. Well, there you have it. Please, if you're not involved in an organization where you can defend yourself, and you're in a town or you're in a city or whatever it might be, this is basically just a signal to you that you need to start considering becoming involved, because it's too late when the shit hits the fan. It's like putting your foot in the water with something. You actually go and try it, become involved. Then you've got a network of people who will support you if things go pear-shaped. And you're crazy not to put yourself in that position, especially if you've got family and children, because what do you do as a single person without any experience? You're lost, you're in trouble. So now's the time, guys, to get involved. Boerelegioen.co.za. That's their website. You can send them an email. The cell phone number we've put into the side chat. Please take care. Remember, most nights at 8 p.m. Johannesburg time, we have a live stream on a whole range of issues, and we'd love to see you there tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Johannesburg time. I'm going to leave the side chat open for a couple of minutes so you can say your goodbyes, and take care. And please remember to subscribe and register on lovinglifetv.com, which is the new platform we're transitioning to. Cheers for now. Oh, and thanks to the moderators for the great work they do in the side chat.